The story begins with the reign of Joram, the son of Ahab, who has just ascended to the throne of Israel. Joram, unlike his father, made attempts at reforming the kingdom by removing the sacred pillar of Baal, a remnant of his mother Jezebel's legacy. Despite these partial reforms, Joram's heart did not fully turn from the sins of Jeroboam, the first king of Israel, who led the people into idolatry with his golden calves. The land was still rife with spiritual decay, as the people continued to worship false gods. Joram was a cautious ruler. He understood that the stability of his kingdom depended on the delicate balance of alliances and the suppression of rebellious vassals. One such vassal was the kingdom of Moab, a region known for its rich pastures and fertile lands. The Moabites had long been under the yoke of Israel, forced to pay a hefty tribute that included 100,000 lambs and the wool of as many rams. This tribute was a significant source of wealth for Israel, and Joram was determined to maintain it. Yet beneath the surface, tensions simmered. The tribute that the Moabites were forced to pay was not just a financial burden, but also a symbol of their subjugation. For years, Mesha had dutifully sent his flocks northward, appeasing the demands of the Israelite kings. However, with the changing tides of leadership in Israel, Mesha saw an opportunity to break free. The tribute was an affront to Moab's sovereignty, and Mesha's pride could no longer bear the humiliation. Mesha was a shrewd ruler known for his strategic mind and passionate speeches that stirred the hearts of his people. As he gathered his council, he spoke of freedom and the Moabite destiny. He painted a vivid picture of a future where Moab would stand as a free and independent kingdom, no longer under the shadow of Israel. His words ignited a spark in the hearts of the Moabites, who had long yearned for autonomy. With the support of his people, Mesha declared his rebellion against Israel, refusing to send the tribute that had been demanded for decades. This act of defiance was not just a rejection of Israel's demands, but a bold statement of Moabite independence. Faced with the Moabite rebellion, Joram realized the need for an alliance. He understood that a united front would be crucial in suppressing Mesha's uprising. Joram reached out to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, a neighboring kingdom with whom Israel shared historical and familial ties. Jehoshaphat was a God-fearing king, known for his piety and wisdom, and he was willing to help his fellow Israelites. Joram's message to Jehoshaphat was clear. The rebellion of Moab was a threat not only to Israel, but to the stability of the entire region. Mesha's defiance had to be met with a formidable response. Jehoshaphat agreed to join forces with Joram, but he was not alone in this decision. The two kings also enlisted the support of the king of Edom, a smaller kingdom situated between Judah and Moab, which also had a vested interest in the outcome of this conflict. The alliance of these three kings was a powerful one. Each brought their own strengths to the table, forming a coalition that was both intimidating and strategic. The coalition of armies set out on their journey, marching through the arid lands of Edom towards the heart of Moab. The decision to take this route was strategic. It would allow them to bypass the heavily fortified Moabite defenses and catch Mesha's forces off guard. However, the desert was unforgiving, and the journey proved more treacherous than anticipated. As days turned into weeks, the harsh sun beat down relentlessly on the troops. Supplies dwindled, and the lack of water became a dire concern. The morale of the soldiers began to waver as thirst gnawed at their resolve. Tensions ran high, and whispers of doubt spread among the ranks. The once confident alliance now faced an unexpected adversary, the barren wilderness that threatened to undo their plans before they even reached Moab. The kings, too, were not immune to the growing sense of desperation. Joram, Jehoshaphat, and the king of Edom convened to discuss their options. In their moment of need, the kings turned to Elisha, the prophet who had succeeded Elijah and was renowned for his deep connection with God. Elisha was a man of unwavering faith, whose words carried the weight of divine authority. His presence among the armies brought a sense of hope and anticipation, for the kings knew that his counsel could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Elisha was initially reluctant to aid Joram, given the king's partial adherence to the idolatrous practices of his ancestors. However, out of respect for Jehoshaphat, who remained faithful to the Lord, Elisha agreed to prophesy. He requested a musician to play, and as the music filled the air, the hand of the Lord came upon him. In a voice filled with conviction, Elisha declared that the Lord would provide water for the armies and their animals without rain or wind. This prophecy was both a promise and a challenge. As dawn broke over the desert landscape, the armies awoke to an incredible sight. Water filled the ditches they had dug, shimmering in the morning light. It was a miraculous provision, exactly as Elisha had prophesied. There had been no rain or storm, yet the valleys were now brimming with life-giving water. The soldiers drank deeply, their thirst quenched and their spirits rejuvenated. This miraculous event was a strategic boon for the Allied forces. Not only did the provision of water restore the physical strength of the troops, but it also served as a powerful morale booster. The soldiers, now confident in their divine favor, were ready to face the Moabites with renewed vigor. From the Moabite perspective, the water appeared red as blood in the early light. The Moabites, seeing what they believed was a river of blood, assumed that the Allied armies had turned on each other and destroyed themselves. With their thirst quenched and spirits lifted, the Allied forces marched towards the unsuspecting Moabites. The confusion caused by the appearance of blood in the water had led Mesha's forces to lower their defenses. As the Moabites approached, expecting to find a battlefield of corpses, they were met instead by a well-prepared army, ready to engage in battle. The surprise was complete, and the Moabites were caught off guard. The allied forces of Israel, Judah, and Edom charged with ferocity. Their earlier desperation transformed into a formidable offensive. The battle was fierce, with clashing swords and the cries of warriors filling the air. The strength of the allied forces, combined with the element of surprise, overwhelmed the Moabite army. Mesha, realizing his mistake and the dire situation his forces were in, fought valiantly to rally his troops. However, the momentum of the battle had shifted irrevocably in favor of the Allied forces. The Moabites, disoriented by the unexpected assault, began to falter. In the wake of their victory, the Allied forces advanced deeper into Moabite territory, determined to bring Mesha to heel and ensure the complete submission of Moab. The cities they encountered were systematically dismantled, their fields destroyed and their wells filled with stones, crippling the Moabite infrastructure. The campaign was relentless, designed to break the will of the Moabite king and his people. Mesha, driven to desperation, retreated to the fortified city of Kir-Hareseth, where he made his last stand. The Allied forces laid siege to the city, poised to deliver the final blow that would end the Moabite rebellion. Inside the city walls, Mesha's situation grew increasingly dire as supplies dwindled and hope waned. In a dramatic and shocking turn of events, Mesha, in a bid to turn the tide, resorted to a desperate measure. He took his eldest son, the heir to the throne, and offered him as a burnt sacrifice on the city wall. This act of ultimate sacrifice was meant to invoke the favor of Chemosh, the Moabite god, and to strike terror and revulsion into the hearts of the besieging forces. The battle between Moab and the allied forces of Israel, Judah, and Edom was not just a military engagement, but a profound narrative of power, faith, and human resilience. The rebellion of Moab and the subsequent campaign showcased the complexities of ancient geopolitics, where alliances were both essential and fragile. The outcome of the conflict had far-reaching implications for the region, altering balances of power and testing the limits of human and divine intervention. The withdrawal of the Allied forces after Mesha's sacrifice marked a significant turning point. It demonstrated the unpredictable nature of war, where even the strongest alliances could be shaken by unexpected acts of desperation and the psychological impact of warfare. The Moabite rebellion, although ultimately subdued in terms of military might, left a lasting impression on the region and its rulers. For Joram, Jehoshaphat, and the king of Edom, the campaign against Moab was a lesson in the unpredictability of war and the importance of faith and divine guidance. The miraculous provision of water and the victory it facilitated served as a testament to the power of belief and the favor of the divine in human affairs. Yet the abrupt end to their campaign also reminded them of the limits of their own understanding and control. As the dust settled over the battlefield, the legacy of the Moabite conflict endured.